My guest today is Professor Adela Pineda. Adela is the director of our Center for Latin America Studies here at the Pardee School. She is also a professor of Spanish at Boston University. And I'm going to ask her what she thinks the future of literature might look like in a post-COVID world, and in general, the future of the arts.
In the modern era, art has been striving to become not only autonomous, but it also has become anti-establishment, at least if we think of the avant-garde. So what type of institutions should support art? Today, in a capitalist economy, this has become more and more difficult in the context of globalization. The value of literature and art perishes faster than ever, and is always fluctuating according to shifting conditions in the market, transnationally and nationally. And this creates a lot of uncertainty already, even before COVID-19. Now, let me say that in the literary and art world, there have been always other alternatives, parallel infrastructures. Many art workers operate outside this system because they have not have access to it. And this has been the case particularly in Latin America. If we think of the great masterpieces of Latin American literature, they were always written in very precarious conditions. Let's think of the Cartonera movement in Argentina in 2001 when the peso plummeted. And so these editors, these young people, decided to buy cardboard from the cartoneros. Who were the cartoneros? People who made their living collecting and selling salvage materials to recycling plants. So they produced books that were made of this cardboard and were illustrated by hand, and then they were sold in the streets at the price of the cost of production. So what did they achieve? More new unknown authors were able to publish their books, and non-authors were able to reach a wider audience, so a democratizing practice. I think we are seeing this nowadays. And we are seeing this more and more in the first world as well. I was reading articles about the prospect of New York City to become, a new 1970s art scene where galleries can go underground and start charging less and less. On the other hand, I don't think this is the best scenario for the artist worker. The precarity of the artist worker should not be the only way to produce good art.
Any thoughts on how this moment that we are all living through will impact the subject of the art being produced, the literature being produced?
I already see, kind of like a marketplace for new novels talking about coronavirus. I don't know if that would be the real impact of literature. I think like great masterpieces of literature have talked about pandemics and epidemics in a more symbolic way. Let's think of Garcia Marquez's masterpiece, 100 Years of Solitude, where the inhabitants of Macondo are exposed to this epidemic that is an insomnia. They cannot sleep, and because of that, they cannot remember anything. And because they cannot remember anything, they don't know who they are, and they have lost track of their present as well. So I think the powerful metaphor there is how politically and socially important art is when we are living or going through a paradigm shift like we are envisioning these days. We don't know exactly where we are, but I think great artists are going to be visionary, and they are going to not only diagnose the problem beyond the specific pandemic crisis, but are also going to be able to provide some, at least, ephemeral solutions, but also bigger reflection on what is the role of humans in this world. Why are we going where we are going?
When we are on the other side of COVID, whatever that means, what do you think will be the role played by literature in helping us understand what we've been through?
What drove me to literature since I was young was the fact that all the problems that I read in the press about, economic crisis, living in Mexico City was always about economic crisis, right? Or political instability, or all that you read through statistics. Literature told me the same things through the experience of great characters whose life were very different to mine, but for some reason, because of the pen of the writer, they became so close to me. Great novelists have always brought you the world nearer and have made you more empathic. And I think what we need in the future is solidarity more than division. I hope that literature could give us the logic and the feeling to really strive for communitarian bonds, and that goes beyond ideology.